Super Tuesday voter concerns, doctors charging for emails, and eating cereal for dinner to save money. Hi, it's Edward, back with another video. Please take a moment to click the thumbs up button below and consider subscribing to the channel. Please also share this video with your friends. Thank you for your support. Today, I read several financial news articles. I've included links to the articles in the description below. I encourage you to read the articles to support the authors and news sources. As a private American citizen, I'd like to report and share my transformative thoughts through commentary regarding small sections of these articles that are of public interest. Today, I read an article on foxbusiness.com written by Megan Henney titled, "Economic Woes Dominate Americans' Worries on Super Tuesday." According to the author, about 1/3 of Americans think that economic problems are the most important issue facing the country today, according to a monthly poll published by Gallup. That includes 12% of voters who are worried about the economy in general and 11% who identified the high cost of living and ongoing inflation crisis as the top problem in the country. Another 3% expressed concern about the steep federal budget deficit, while 2% said taxes. By comparison, 28% of Americans said that immigration is the #1 problem, while 20% said the top issue is the government and poor leadership. Another 6% identified poverty and homelessness as the biggest problems. Well, my friends, it is interesting to hear about what many Americans think about issues facing the country today. I am not surprised that 11% identified the high cost of living and ongoing inflation crisis as the top problem in the country. Many people can't afford food at the grocery store without resorting to credit cards or buy now, pay later loans. Some individuals can no longer afford to rent an apartment or buy a home in their area. According to the author, many families have yet to see material relief. Food prices are up 33.7% from the start of 2021, while shelter costs are up 18.7%. Energy prices, meanwhile, are up 32.8%. This is all according to Fox Business calculations. I don't understand. I thought the Fed was winning the war against inflation, which is why the Fed is expected to cut rates several times this year. Wall Street is certainly expecting them to cut rates several times in 2024, and they have supposedly already priced this into the market. I personally don't think the Fed should have stopped hiking rates. I think they should have continued hiking rates if they are really committed to taming inflation. Wall Street wouldn't like this though, and I'm sure they can't risk that. I heard that Jerome Powell's speeches are reviewed by focus groups to determine how Wall Street may receive the information. The speeches are carefully scripted, so there is less of a risk that Wall Street may sell off on the information being shared. I don't know if this is true or not, but I did hear this, and I certainly can believe it. The whole world watches and listens to what Jerome Powell has to say. Whatever happened to letting the market be free? Let true price discovery occur. I guess that all got thrown out the window after the great financial crisis. Rather than let the market be free back then, the banks were bailed out. Instead of bailing out the banks, they could have let market forces prevail. A new system could have emerged from the ashes. It would have been very painful, but we wouldn't have all of the asset bubbles that we have today. We wouldn't be dealing with all of the inflation that we are dealing with today. The super banks wouldn't have all of the power they have today. Things would be a lot different, that's for sure. Getting back to the article, I found it interesting that 6% of respondents indicated poverty and homelessness as the biggest problems. I am sure this varies considerably depending on where people live in America. In some big cities, people are living on the sidewalks, and there are a variety of problems because of this. I have no doubt some Americans are insulated from this because they live in rural or suburban areas, especially if there is no public transportation there. I know of a city that has resisted public transportation because they don't want homeless people or low-income people moving there. They don't want people having a way to get around the city easily. Every city has their own strategies for dealing with some of these problems. Many people of all walks of life across America are frustrated by the current state of affairs. Americans across different income levels are grappling with inflation. The author cited Moody's Analytics as saying, chronically high prices are forcing Americans to spend about $1,019 more per month than they did 3 years ago before the inflation crisis began. How many of you have seen your take-home pay increase by $1,019 per month in the past 3 years? Many employers are not this generous with raises. This is why many people are struggling financially, and there appears to be no end in sight, even though the Fed is supposedly winning the war against inflation. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. If dealing with inflation wasn't bad enough, some everyday Americans now are going to be charged more money by their doctors. I read an article today on foxbusiness.com written by Daniela Genovese titled, "Some Doctors' Offices Are Charging Patients for Administrative Tasks. Here's Why." According to the author, some doctors are now charging for services like answering patient emails, asking for medical advice, or filling out extra paperwork to compensate for their time and recoup costs lost from in-person visits. Apparently, doctors end up sending back detailed emails with medical advice. In many cases, there are even several back and forth messages between the patient and the physician, and this takes up more of the doctor's time. Well, my friends, I never get to communicate directly with my doctor unless I'm in the room with him. If I call the office, I'm lucky to talk to a medical assistant. I can understand that a doctor's time is valuable, but this almost seems like what lawyers do. If you call a lawyer, he or she is going to bill you, even if the phone call is just for a few minutes. Sometimes I just feel like people are getting nickeled and dimed to death across all industries. When I go to a restaurant, I'm always shocked by the menu prices. If I order fries, I'm often interested in dipping sauce. I always ask the waitress or waiter what they charge for dipping sauce. The last place I went charged 85 cents for a tiny cup of barbecue sauce. Why can't they just throw this in, since they are charging so much money for the meal and the drinks? If it is possible to charge for something, businesses are going to try to get away with it. Businesses exist to make money, and they want to maximize profits at all costs. Getting back to the article, the author referenced to the National Patient Advocate Foundation, who chimed in about doctors charging for services like answering patient emails, asking for medical advice, or filling out extra paperwork. They believe doing this will make it harder for certain patients to get care. A spokesperson for the NPAF said there's going to ultimately be people who say, "I'm not going to reach out to my doctor because I don't want to get charged for this." Well, my friends, I am sure this is true. Medical care has gotten very expensive. Some people are scared to death about what kind of bill they might get because they know it will be impossible to pay. Some individuals want to avoid going into medical debt and potentially trashing their credit. This is the world that we live in. Life is not cheap, and it continues to get more expensive all the time. For those who are struggling financially, they may be interested in this next story. Today, I read an article on Yahoo Finance put out by Benzinga, written by Janine Mancini, titled, "Kellogg's CEO Tells Cash-Strapped Consumers That Cereal for Dinner is a Great Option. Meanwhile, Pepsi's CEO encourages struggling Gen Zers to make meals out of chips and pretzels." According to the author, WK Kellogg CEO Gary Pilnick said, and I'll quote, "The cereal category is a great place for consumers under pressure. We're advertising about cereal for dinner. Think about the cost of cereal for a family versus what they might otherwise do." Well, my friends, I understand groceries are expensive. I also understand that some people don't want to go into credit card debt or buy now, pay later loan debt to purchase groceries. I just hate to think about people eating cereal for dinner, especially if they already ate cereal for breakfast. Understand, I'm not trying to discourage people from buying Kellogg products if that's what they like. I just think people on a budget should consult with their doctor about a diet that is right for them, and then look for inexpensive food that they can buy in bulk, such as beans, rice, and big bags of frozen vegetables or big bags of frozen fruit. Eat the rainbow and try to ingest food that is rich in nutrients and antioxidants. The reason I like buying frozen vegetables and frozen fruit is because it does not go bad as quickly as fresh vegetables and fresh fruit. And in some cases, I can buy frozen food cheaper than fresh. There is a big debate out there about which is healthier. Fruits and vegetables that are going to be frozen are often picked at their peak ripeness when they are the most nutritious. But there is some debate about the loss of nutrients that happens during the blanching process. You can read plenty of articles that will debate back and forth between frozen fruits and frozen vegetables and fresh fruits and fresh vegetables. For me, I generally prefer frozen because they last longer, they are less expensive, and I find frozen vegetables to be more tender when they are cooked. Steam frozen broccoli and then steam fresh broccoli. The frozen broccoli is more tender in my experience. I know CEOs of food companies want to increase profits by selling more products like cereal. I just wish they would be careful with what they are suggesting people do. Everyone has different dietary needs, and to suggest people eat cereal for dinner after possibly eating that for breakfast already may not provide everyone with adequate nutrition. What do you think about all this? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Please keep in mind that everything in this video is for entertainment purposes only, and nothing in this video is financial advice or advice of any kind. If you need advice, seek advice from a qualified professional in good standing who puts your interests first and foremost. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to the channel. Please also share this video with your friends. I want to extend a special thanks to everyone who has subscribed to this channel. I want to also thank all of my channel members. Check out some of the great books that I suggest you consider reading in the description below. I've included Amazon affiliate links to these books. As an Amazon associate, I earn from qualifying purchases. Stay healthy and wealthy. I'll see everyone in the next video.